My daughter had a heart attack, and I desperately called Grace, begging her to bring the new drug to save her, but she was with Julian, and even accused me of using our daughter to blackmail her. In the end, that medicine saved Julian, but my daughter died in the morgue. I stared at the photo of her embracing Julian in her social media post, and then at Lily's cold body. My heart died completely, and in that moment, I decided everything had to start with divorce. Wen's condition suddenly worsened, and she was rushed to the operating room. My wife's phone was off. I called her colleague and learned she was about to attend a new drug launch conference. Just then, the doctor emerged from the operating room. I immediately rushed over to ask about Lily's condition, only to hear him say, "I'm sorry, we've done everything we can. Without the new drug for treatment, we are powerless." I was completely disheartened. Ever since my wife and her Ethel developed a new drug that could treat heart conditions, I had pleaded with her to save Lily, but she didn't believe me. Scoffing and thinking it was just a little ploy to get her to come home, I watched my dying daughter being wheeled into the hospital room. My heart shattered. At that moment, a live stream of Grace's team was being broadcast on TV. The woman on screen, dressed in a sharp suit, faced a reporter who asked, "We all know drug trials can be tedious, so, what keeps you going?" She replied calmly and gracefully, her eyes full of tenderness, "Because the person I love also has this illness, and I will do everything in my power to snatch him back from the grip of death." Her words were met with applause. People were happy for her breakthrough with the new drug, and wished them eternal love. Although the camera didn't show who she was looking at, I knew she was looking at Julian, her cherished first love. Watching this scene, my emotions remained calm, but my precious daughter, seeing it, couldn't contain her joy and excitement. She struggled to pull my hand, slowly opening her mouth to say, "Dad. Dad, Mommy, she loves me, right?" Hearing her words, tears blurred my eyes. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth. I could only secretly call Grace, asking with a choked voice, "Can you please come see Lily? She's really not doing well." "Enough, Marcus, are you serious? Always using our daughter as an excuse. If I were a man, I'd be ashamed." Grace impatiently interrupted me. I forced back my anger, my voice pleading, "Can't you spare a moment to see her one last time? I don't have that much free time." "What? Is this another new ploy you've cooked up? Still trying to lie that our daughter is dying? Marcus, can you stop being so disgusting? If you two, father and daughter, really want to die, just die far away. Don't be an eyesore." After saying that, she hung up the phone. Even in the end, she didn't believe her daughter truly needed her, and my daughter held on until the very last moment. But her mother never came to see her. Finally, Lily collapsed in my arms. I forced myself to take her for cremation, collapsing on the ground, holding her urn. I didn't tell Grace, but I assumed she wouldn't care, might even be happy. After all, our last connection was the child, and now it could finally be over, too. I don't know how long it was before I dragged myself home. As I opened the door, I was surprised to find Grace home. She was lying on the couch, startled by my entrance, but without even turning her head, she snapped, "Marcus, are you crazy, taking Lily out so late?" She stood up and walked towards me, looking around but not finding Lily. She pursed her lips in disdain and said, "Did you send her to your mom's house again?" She then turned and walked back to the couch, not wanting to spare me another glance. "I really don't get it. You're home with nothing to do, yet you send her away every day. What you should be doing now is spending time with her. I really don't know what you do all day at home." I ignored her, not wanting to engage, and walked straight to the bedroom, but she grabbed me from behind. Perhaps seeing the look in my eyes, her tone softened. "Are you still angry? I just came back after finishing my work, didn't I? You have to understand me." Her scent felt both familiar and strange to me, strange because it wasn't her usual scent, but familiar because I knew whose it was. Instantly disgusted, I pushed her away. She had been trying to be intimate with me, but seeing my reaction, her expression immediately changed. "What are you doing?" I came back calmly to reconcile. "I haven't even blamed you for not taking good care of Lily, and throwing a tantrum. I've worked so hard for this family. Isn't it hard for me? You, on the other hand, came home so late. Is this how you usually take care of Lily?" I think you are being too carefree as a hands-off parent. She kept talking about Lily, but she didn't know Lily was never coming back. I was on the verge of collapsing, screaming at the top of my lungs, no need to take care of her anymore. Lily will never bother you again. She flinched at my words, and took a few steps back. She wanted to explode but forced down her anger, rushed over, grabbed my collar, and demanded, "What do you mean? Say that again." I looked up at her, my eyes filled with disbelief, and choked out, "I said Lily is dead. You never see Lily again." As soon as the words left my mouth, a slap landed on my face, then another and another. How is that possible? I saw her last time, and she was perfectly fine. Her last time was half a year ago. She refused to believe it, rushing into Lily's bedroom, trying to find clues. Seeing her like this, I only found it laughable. The child was already dead. Why bother feigning deep affection now? I forced myself to walk over to her, pulled a signed divorce agreement from my bag, and threw it in front of her. "Sign it." She stared at the divorce agreement for a moment, then seemed to realize something. She stopped, her face full of disgust. "Marcus, you are truly disgusting. You'd even try to use our daughter's death to manipulate me. Good thing I saw through your little ploy. I'm telling you, I won't divorce you. I've only been away for half a year, and it was all for work, for this family. Didn't you say you'd understand me? Stop making a scene." Hearing her words, my heart was utterly dead as I stared at her coldly. "Grace, you don't deserve to be a mother." It was clear to everyone why she didn't come home. 3. I was Grace's senior classmate. Throughout college, I liked Grace, but she always ignored me. Later, her first love abandoned her to study abroad, and she suddenly asked me if I would marry her. I was overjoyed. We had a whirlwind marriage with no wedding or ceremony. I always felt guilty towards her, but soon she became pregnant, and gave birth to Lily. I thought this was the beginning of our happiness, but she developed postpartum depression. To keep her from overthinking at home, I not only gave my job at Ethel to her but also took full responsibility for caring for our child at home. I even helped her hands-on with her experimental projects, and later, when she said she needed to seclude herself for 6 months and couldn't come home, I understood. But then Lily fell seriously ill and was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect, and the medicine Grace and her team were researching happened to be exactly for this condition. I wanted to tell her, but I was afraid of affecting her at such a critical moment, only hoping their team would have a breakthrough. Every time Lily asked me, "Daddy, when is Mommy coming home? I miss her so much," I could only comfort her by saying, "Mommy is a superhero. When she comes back, Lily will be able to defeat the little monster." She always said very sensibly, "Then I won't have to carry so much equipment on me, and I can play with my friends." I nodded, fighting back tears. Finally, I received news that their new drug research was successful. Although it hadn't been released yet, Lily needed it. Even a clinical trial would do. Lily couldn't wait any longer. I called Grace. When the call connected, I called out several times but received no answer. I only heard Grace's voice. "Don't worry, I've worked so hard on this new drug. Isn't it all for you? Don't overthink it, go to sleep. Tomorrow I'll bring the medicine to save you. We've finally reunited. This time, I'll never let go of your hand." I was sure I hadn't dialed the wrong number, and the voice was indeed Grace's. But who was she talking to? The next second, I heard the sticky sound of kissing through the phone. As I was still trying to figure out what was happening, the call abruptly ended. The next day, Grace finally called me back, her tone not as gentle as yesterday. "What is it?" I directly asked. "Where were you yesterday?" She righteously replied, "Where else would I be but the lab?" In that moment, I knew my love had died. After the call was hung up yesterday, I had a premonition and looked up information about the person I suspected. Sure enough, his latest social media post read, "Having you is my blessing." The accompanying picture was Grace's back. It really was him, Grace's cherished first love, her ex-boyfriend Julian. I didn't want to pretend I didn't know. After all, she was still my wife, but she didn't wait for me to speak. Her tone was impatient. "Anything else? If not, I have things to do. Are you going to save Julian?" "You? How did you know?" She realized she had misspoken, but immediately became self-righteous. "Don't misunderstand. He's sick, and he just needs our new drug for a clinical trial. She made it sound so good. If I hadn't witnessed their love back then, I might have believed her, but at that moment, I didn't want to argue with her. I pleaded, "Can you come home? Lily is sick too. She needs you." To my surprise, she irritably snapped, "Marcus, are you crazy? Why would you curse Lily for no reason? I already told you there's nothing between us. I am just going to save him, and it's also a requirement for the clinical trial. Why would you fabricate such lies? I never thought you'd be so selfish. You're a pharmacist too. You should understand how much he needs treatment. Can you stop causing trouble?" She unleashed a barrage of accusations, and she wasn't listening to anything I said, but really needed her. And she was running out of time. 4. I kept calling her, but couldn't get through. Finally, she sent me a text message, "Marcus, are you so insecure? Stop bothering me." When I called again, her phone was off. I looked at Lily lying on the bed, still waiting for her mother to save her, and my heart felt like it was being burned by fire. In that moment, I truly regretted giving up my career. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had to beg anyone. I could have saved her myself. I tried countless people, but still couldn't reach her. My precious daughter, despite her immense pain, held my hand and comforted me. "Daddy, don't cry. Lily doesn't hurt." Finally, she closed her eyes forever. She was only 5 years old. Why did she have to endure all of this? While I, father and daughter, were suffering the most, Grace was with Julian, helping him through his critical period. When was cremated, Grace was on a podium accepting an award, sacrificing her own daughter for love and a career. I wondered if she could live with a clear conscience. So why should she be successful while my Lily was gone forever? I would make them both pay. My thoughts returned, and I looked at Grace, collapsed on the ground. She was crying uncontrollably, a mess of tears. I knelt down beside her. She looked up at me, and with a playful smile, I said softly, "I was just joking." As soon as the words left my mouth, Grace instantly composed herself, her face full of fury as she screamed at me, "Are you crazy for making such a joke?" I looked at her and found it ridiculous. She actually believed me. She got up, tidied herself, and after taking a phone call, her expression completely changed, brimming with smiles. Before leaving, she told me, "Don't wait up for me. I have something to do and won't be back tonight." I didn't answer. Having to go out at 3:30 a.m. seemed like a major event. After she left, I sat in the living room all night. Everywhere I looked, I felt Lily's presence. She didn't come back all day the next day, and I slept the whole day. When I woke up and looked in the mirror, I tidied myself up, prepared all the documents, and took a taxi to Grace's Ithel. On the way, I saw a new social media post from Julian. "I should have disappeared, but you gave me a second life." Grace instantly liked it, and people who didn't know the truth offered their blessings, celebrating that they had, after all their turns, ended up together. And when did we drift apart? I remember when Julian first returned to the country, I felt a sense of crisis, but at that time, I considered Grace and me still deeply in love. However, I underestimated Julian's power, although gradually opened up to me after marriage. 5 years of marriage couldn't withstand Julian's simple long time no see. From then on, Grace often didn't come home. Although the lab was busy, it wasn't busy enough to warrant not coming home for several weeks. I had cautiously asked my former colleagues, and the result was that she left work on time every day. I could only find traces of her in Julian's social media posts. They ate, shopped, and watched movies together just like when they were dating. That's why Julian would say, "Time flies," but we remain unchanged. I knew he was provoking me. Unable to bear it any longer, I went directly to the restaurant where they were eating. Grace was surprised to see me, but showed no sign of guilt. Instead, she questioned why I was there. I only said to Julian, "Mr. Julian, she is a married woman. I hope you show some respect." A polite reminder, yet in Grace's eyes, it was unforgivable. I didn't expect Grace to shout at me, in front of everyone, "Marcus, are you that insecure? We just had a meal and a chat. Do you really have to be like this?" Julian, seeing her defending him, acted like a gentleman, said some irrelevant words, and left. Grace and I had a huge fight. When we got back, "You're a coward and a loser. I want you to share my burdens, not create problems for me." Look at him. Then look at you, what kind of place is this? Why are you here? To catch me cheating? Marcus, you need to know that the one who isn't loved is the other woman, and you are the one who ruined our relationship. After saying these words, she slammed the door and left. That was the first time I realized I was a joke in her eyes. I thought that after so many years of living together and my sincere devotion, I would at least get a little genuine affection, but there was none. She only used me, there was no love. When I arrived at Ethel, I went straight to the director. When I first told her I wanted to resign and stay home, she earnestly advised me that everyone, regardless of gender, should have a career and not lose themselves for anyone. At the time, I didn't understand, believing that love could overcome all difficulties. But now I realize that wrong love itself is a disaster. I explained my thoughts and reasons. She expressed understanding and support, saying I could come to work anytime I wanted. Unexpectedly, I met Grace when I was leaving. She looked at me with great vigilance, and Julian was next to her. They must come often, as my colleagues looked at me with sympathy when I arrived. I didn't want to engage with him, but she blocked my path and asked haughtily, "What are you doing here?" I was already disgusted seeing them, and now I couldn't help but gag. Grace immediately turned furious and disgusted. "Marcus, are you insane? Do you have no basic manners?" I wanted to turn and leave, but I couldn't resist walking up to Julian and saying, "You barely scraped by with a second chance at life, yet if flaunting it everywhere, aren't you afraid you die the next second?" Grace instantly flared up, even angrier than at my rudeness. "Marcus, if you can't speak properly, don't speak at all. Did give you a mouth to talk nonsense?" Our commotion was not small, and soon a crowd gathered. I didn't want to give them a show, so I leaned close to Grace and whispered, "Grace, have you forgotten who you owe everything you have now to?" Her eyes filled with panic and guilt. "What did you tell the director?" I curled my lips, a look of disdain on my face. "If you want to know, I'll text you a location tomorrow at noon. If you come, I'll tell you, otherwise, you face the consequences." Then I left, leaving her to stew in her thoughts. The next day at noon, when I arrived, she was already there. She saw me and complained, "What kind of place is this? What did you call me here for?" I didn't answer. I pulled her into the hall, where a memorial service was taking place. What greeted our eyes was Lily's portrait. Grace stared at the scene, utterly disbelieving. The scene one had arranged myself. Even seeing it again now brought immense pain. Grace's eyes filled with grief. She carefully confirmed it was truly Lily, then turned and snapped at me, "The child was always with you. What kind of father were you? How could this happen?" At that moment, the long-suppressed pain could no longer be held back. It burst from my heart. I gritted my teeth and screamed hoarsely, "I told you Lily was sick and needed the new drug you developed, but you didn't believe me. Even when I begged you to come see her one last time, what did you say?" I stared intently at her, then sighed, "You told us father and daughter to go die far away, and not to be an eyesore. Do you know? Lily waited for you until her dying breath, even before she died, when she saw you say you were working hard for the person you loved. She thought you were doing it for her. Don't you think she was foolish? Lying. I saw her last time, and she was perfectly fine, the one who didn't take good care of the child and didn't explain things clearly. Why is it all my fault when something goes wrong?" She was losing control, and there was a hint of murderous intent in her eyes. Seeing my cold expression, she suddenly rushed towards the urn, picked it up, and cried hysterically, "It's fake. You're lying to me. This is your ploy. Where have you hidden Lily?" Seeing her so out of control, I was afraid she would drop the urn the next second, so I rushed forward and snatched it from her hands. I couldn't let my daughter be restless even in death. I fought back my emotions, hugged the urn tightly, and whispered soothingly, "Don't be afraid, my dear daughter. Daddy is taking you home." I turned to leave, but Grace blocked me. "Where are you taking her?" I didn't even look up, coldly saying, "You didn't care when she was alive, and now you want to interfere. I am sorry, you don't deserve to." "Marcus, you've lost your mind." Seeing that she couldn't stop me, she reverted to her usual coldness and said, "After all, I am Lily's mother, and I have a right to know, but how can one who gives birth, but does not raise be called a mother?" I struggled to control my emotions and said, "I'll be going to work at Ethel tomorrow, from now on. We'll be together day and night, Are you ready? She froze, her face pale. You why? I sneered, leaving without looking back, and heard her screaming at the top of my lungs behind me. Marcus, what did you tell the director? Tell me, are you going to expose me? Are you going to ruin me? She rushed forward and hugged me tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Was it sadness for our daughter, or fear of her true self being exposed? Marcus, I know you can't accept Lily's passing, so take good care of yourself. There's no need to rush. If you're angry with me, you can hit me, curse me, but I won't divorce you. If it had been before, I would have softened. But now, holding Lily's urn in my arms, I found her utterly nauseating. I broke free from her, not looking back, and said faintly, not divorcing is fine, but you have to resign and have nothing to do with Julian for the rest of your life. As soon as Julian was mentioned, her act dropped. Marcus, are you serious? I've worked so hard for so long, why should I resign? End. How many times do I have to tell you that my relationship with him isn't as sordid as you think? I don't blame you for not understanding. If there was really something between us, it would have happened long ago, and you wouldn't have been in the picture. Fine, you've spoken your mind, so, get a divorce then. Why hold on to someone else in your heart, and still pathetically beg me to stay? How pathetic. I directly exposed her hypocrisy, no longer wanting to argue with her. She was used to my subservience, so she couldn't stand me contradicting her publicly now. Her face turned beet red with anger. Marcus, you're truly an ungrateful wretch. All these years I've worked so hard for this family, and in the end, you betray me. Your mind is filthy, you see everything as dark. I must have been blind to fall for you. You don't even deserve to clean Julian's fingernails. Her words were like needles, piercing me all over, but I no longer cared. Before leaving, she also left a harsh warning. Marcus, I want to see how you survive after divorcing me, a stay-at-home dad for so many years. This lab is my domain now. I advise you to be sensible, and not say anything you shouldn't, or else not only will no one believe you, but I can also guarantee you won't last in this industry. Don't say I didn't warn you without regard for old times. After all these years, I realized I didn't know her at all. Every time, she managed to shatter my understanding of human nature. I buried Lily, took a few days to recover, and then went to work. As I came out of the director's office, I saw Grace waiting by the door, with several people behind her. She immediately started mocking. So you really came? If I were you, I'd have hidden somewhere, and wouldn't come out to make a fool of myself. I didn't want to acknowledge her, but she had no intention of letting me leave, stubbornly blocking my path. She gave a look to the people next to her, and immediately someone echoed, exactly. Does he really think Ethel is a wet market, where just anyone can waltz in? I wonder what the director is thinking. Our job is pharmaceutical development. It's so sacred and great. Does someone like him really qualify? Could there be some unspeakable transaction involved? Listening to their mocking voices, Grace's face was full of smugness. After all, she was now famous in the lab thanks to her research achievements. But how long could stolen glory last? I looked up at her, showing none of the embarrassment she expected. Instead, my face was calm. This infuriated her. Her punch hit a wall, having no impact. She wouldn't give up until she achieved her goal. She approached me and whispered threateningly, Marcus, I am telling you, if you dare say anything you shouldn't, I guarantee you'd endure this every day. She was truly afraid that the truth about my involvement in her experiments would be exposed. But I disdained such little games. When she wasn't paying attention, I suddenly pulled her closer and said lightly, don't worry, I am not as disgusting as you. Hearing the answer she wanted, her eyes immediately gleamed with triumph. How foolish. Seeing that we were at daggers drawn, someone, who used to be good friends with me intervened. You all family, why are you standing there like this? Then, in a joking tone, he said to the others, it's a matter between a husband and wife. You don't need to say more. As soon as he said that, the people who had been insulting me froze, clearly unaware of my relationship with Grace. Their faces turned awkward, and they quickly apologized. Sorry, brother-in-law, you and sis can talk. Everyone started to leave, but Grace's voice stopped them. Brother-in-law? Does he even deserve that? She turned to everyone and declared righteously, since you're all here, I have an announcement to make. We are already divorced. so whatever he does from now on has nothing to do with me. After saying that, she looked at me very arrogantly, but the next second, I pulled the divorce agreement from my bag, and said faintly, "Perfect, then sign it, it's only official once it's signed." She probably hadn't expected things to unfold this way, nor that I would carry the divorce agreement with me. Her face turned very ugly, but she had set herself up, so she had to go through with it. She snatched it from my hand resentfully, signed it, and threw it into my arms, saying, "Good luck to you." Things went more smoothly than I expected. Since that day, I've been busy with experiments in the lab every day. Only being busy could briefly make me forget the pain of Lily's passing, but I couldn't see any sadness on Grace's face. I only saw her flaunting her relationship with Julian everywhere lately. Some people, out of respect for me, chose to ignore it, but loudly publicized it, as if afraid others wouldn't know she was remarrying. Seeing me come out of the lab, she even deliberately walked up to me, and said haughtily, "Marcus, seeing as we used to be married, you'll wish me happiness, won't you?" I curled my lips and nodded emphatically, but she wasn't done yet. Leaning shyly into Julian's arms, "You really can't object. After all, you wasted 7 years of our lives." I didn't want to listen to her talking nonsense, and turned to leave, but unexpectedly, Julian directly provoked me. "Marcus, I have to thank you. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have known how deep our feelings are. You must come have a drink at our wedding." I looked at his arrogant face and found it ridiculous. I glanced at him and said, "Don't mention it. After all, I wasn't good enough. Otherwise, the dog I raised for so many years wouldn't be barking at its owner." Grace was stunned for a moment before she snapped furiously, "What do you mean?" I waved my hand. "It means nothing. I sincerely wish you a long and happy life together. Just make sure you don't end up separated by death." After saying that, I left gracefully. The colleagues passing by were all full of admiration, and some even gave me a thumbs up, as Grace's harassment had been truly annoying lately. These days, I had been researching the second phase of the new drug, because I still had a question that needed factual confirmation, so I sent someone to retrieve all the case files of everyone who participated in the first phase of the clinical trial, including Julian's. When Julian learned I was checking their medical records, they refused to cooperate at all, loudly insisting, "Don't overstep your boundaries. We're fine, we don't need your interference." I listened to their words and found it somewhat pathetic, but it was fine. I didn't want to meddle anyway. To analyze the drug trials, I secluded myself for half a year and finally made a breakthrough. The new drug still needed one last round of clinical trials before it could be approved for market. After I came out, I went to Lily's Evergreen Park. I hadn't visited her in 6 months, and her birthday was coming up soon. I wondered if she would blame me, just as I placed her favorite cake, and wanted to share my thoughts with her. I saw Grace and Julian arrive. The two of them were giggling and being affectionate at the Memorial Park, which was truly nauseating. They saw me too. Grace hadn't changed. As soon as she saw me, she mocked, "Drive, Marcus, you still remember your daughter, huh? You haven't been here in 6 months, and now you're putting on an act of deep affection." I listened to her words and just felt speechless. I wondered how many times she had visited. I rolled my eyes at her, about to retort, but then I saw Lily's photo, and didn't want to argue with her in front of Lily. The two of them pretentiously placed their offerings, among which was a blueberry cake. It turned out she still didn't know her own daughter was allergic to blueberries. I watched her put on her display of affection, forcing out a few tears. As Julian tenderly held her, I couldn't bear it any longer, and burst out, "If you want to be affectionate, get out. Don't taint Lily's sight, it's disgusting." As soon as I said that, Grace, wiping away her feigned tears, was about to retort but was pulled behind Julian. Then I heard Julian's hypocritical voice, "Marcus, you don't have to be like this. We came with good intentions to see Lily. Why are you acting like this?" Ha! I actually laughed. What right did he have to talk nonsense here? What are you to speak here? Hearing me say that, he also got angry. I am Lily's stepfather, so what? If she was still alive, she'd have to call me Dad. That completely enraged me. Call you Dad? Do you even deserve that, you bastard? The next second, my fist landed on his face with all my might. With just one punch, all his teeth fell out. Grace instantly panicked, and started swearing at me. "Marcus, Have you lost your mind? Do you believe I'll call the police to arrest you? Her face was full of heartache, and the two of them embraced intimately. I decided to give up and go all out. Go ahead, call them. Even if they arrest me, I'll still kill him. Seeing me charging forward like a madman again, they both cursed and scrambled away. After they left, I suddenly felt lost. I had never lost my temper in front of Lily before. I wondered if she would be scared to see me like that. I straightened my clothes, rearranged everything, and seeing Lily's smile, I instantly broke down. But it didn't matter. Counting the time, their retribution was coming soon. After returning, I continued my usual rounds, checking on patients and the new drugs usage. One day, I ran into Grace. I deliberately went to check their patient room. She looked flustered when she saw me, but still tried to act calm. What are you doing here? To gloat. I ignored her and routinely questioned the patient next to Julian. As I was about to leave, Julian stopped me. Drive. Marcus, please look at me, my heart hurts. Grace saw him stop me, and looked as if she had swallowed a fly. I turned and walked toward him, his eyes filled with hope, but the next second, I walked straight past him. Before I even left the room, I heard Grace scolding, Marcus, are you deaf? Why aren't you examining him? I turned and curved my lips. I am sorry, he's not my patient. I walked away, leaving them both bewildered, but in the hallway, I heard her cursing me out. What's so great about him? His mind is filthy. No wonder hell never amount to anything. I am going to report you. But the next second, I heard Julian retort, shut up. It's all because of you that he won't help me. Didn't you say I was fine? Why does it hurt so much now? And you say others are useless. What have you ever accomplished? You'd be happy if I just died. I didn't listen to what they said next. An intern working with me told me that Julian had been feeling unwell for a long time, ever since they got married. Grace had focused entirely on him, almost to the point of not working, so she hadn't been involved in the research of the new drug at all. Julian had tried every trick to get Grace to beg me for the medicine, but I knew that given Grace's personality, she wouldn't humble herself to me, so I decided to see what was more important to her, Julian or her pride. After all, judging by the timeline, without the new drug, Julian's suffering would be no less than Lily's. I had already confirmed my suspicion. The first batch of new drugs that Grace and her team researched had significant side effects. Without timely correction, it was a dead end. And the second batch of new drugs I developed based on clinical trials was precisely to correct those side effects and reduce adverse reactions. Seeing this batch of clinical trial patients gradually recover, I felt happy, but at the same time, I bitterly hated myself. Why couldn't I save my Lily? As expected, Grace never came to me, but Julian was running out of time. Finally, I heard from a colleague that Julian was throwing a huge tantrum in the patient room, blaming Grace for her inaction and deception. He even cursed her for being arrogant and lacking real ability, claiming his current state was entirely Grace's fault. Sure enough, even the strongest love couldn't withstand resentment, especially when it wasn't truly genuine. I listened intently, knowing she was about to make her move. Sure enough, that night, I saw Grace enter my lab through the security cameras. She thought she was foolproof by disabling all the security cameras, but these were cameras I had secretly installed. I watched as she stealthily opened my computer, found the new drugs research results, and left, satisfied. But she didn't know that as soon as she opened my computer, the surveillance system inside would trigger an alarm and record. I found her triumphant expression quite amusing. After saving all the evidence, I went straight to sleep. That night, I had a rare good dream. I dreamed of Lily. It was the first time she had visited my dreams since her passing. She smiled and told me, "Daddy, don't be afraid, Lily is always here." My pillow was soaked with tears, but my heart was incredibly content. After stole the research results from me, she secretly prepared the medicine for Julian herself. I estimated the time she would successfully formulate it, and immediately called the police. Sure enough, just as Grace arrived at the patient room with the new drug, about to give it to Julian, the police rushed in. Grace and Julian were stunned. Then the police officer stated word by word, "Grace, you are suspected of theft, unauthorized preparation of medicine, and attempted murder. Please come with us." Grace was shocked by these accusations, looking lost, and tried to argue, but it was useless. As she was being handcuffed and led away, Julian reacted, cursing at her, privately compounding medicine. Intentional murder. Are you trying to kill me, you bitch? I must have been blind to trust you. Otherwise, how could I have ended up like this? Why don't you just die? Grace was jolted awake by his curses, seeing his true colors. Enraged and humiliated, she retorted, I was the one who was blind. If it weren't for you, I would never have fallen to such a state. The two of them cursed at each other, attracting the attention of everyone in the hospital. The police immediately took Grace away. Before leaving, Grace saw me, watching the scene unfold by the door, her eyes filled with desperate pleading as she screamed wildly, Marcus, I beg you, please help me. I completely ignored her. After everyone had left, I entered the hospital room, and walked over to Julian. He was already gaunt, and the moment he saw me, he struggled to his feet as if he had found salvation, begging profusely, I am sorry, Marcus, it was all Grace's fault for seducing me, I never meant to break up your family, please, save me, I don't want to die, he cried for help frantically, utterly desperate, trying to grasp at the last straw, but I simply looked calmly at the pills scattered on the floor and said, this medicine can save you. No sooner had I spoken than Julian collapsed instantly to the ground. Skeptical yet hopeful, he still shoved the pills into his mouth. His upper body was sprawled on the floor, while his lower half still lay on the bed. He looked utterly humiliated. After taking the medicine, a look of satisfaction spread across his face, not a trace of remorse for Grace. But he didn't know that even with the medicine, he wouldn't survive. Too much time had passed. He was already in a terminal condition. Sure enough, not long after, his illness relapsed rapidly, and he died before he could receive emergency treatment. As for Grace, with irrefutable evidence, she was immediately imprisoned and sentenced to life imprisonment. On the day of her sentencing, Grace requested to see me. When I arrived, her face was gaunt and completely devoid of life. The moment she saw me, she cried uncontrollably. I didn't know what she regretted, nor did I wish to delve deeper. I asked blandly, do you need something? She paused for a moment, then choked out, I am sorry, it was all my fault. Hearing her apology, I remained unmoved and started to leave. But then I heard her, screaming at the top of her lungs, Lily was in so much pain. I am sorry, I didn't know she was in so much pain. It was all my fault. I didn't even see her before she died. I turned around, tears streaming down my face. Yes, Lily really was in so much pain back then. She claimed she only realized how much Lily had suffered by witnessing Julian's agony, but what good did that do? She hadn't saved Lily then, and she hadn't managed to save Julian now. Not long after, she went insane in prison. Meanwhile, all patients participating in the second phase of the clinical trial fully recovered, and were discharged, which also proved the new drug could be launched, allowing more people to avoid suffering. I represented Ethel at the new drug's launch live stream, when a reporter asked, what made you so persistent? I looked down at the audience and saw Lily smiling at me. I offered a small smile and said, because I lost the person I loved most. I don't want more people to experience that loss. No sooner had I finished speaking than thunderous applause erupted. Only looked at me with shining eyes full of joy, as if saying, Daddy, ear hero.